The ground was silent, except for the sound of burning metal and falling ash. Smoke rose from what was once a proud human colony on a distant world called Epsilon 3. The sky was black, filled with strange alien ships that hovered like vultures above a dying battlefield. Among the ruins, one man was still alive. His name was Captain Aaron Hale. He was not supposed to be alive. His entire squad had been wiped out in the first wave of the invasion. The alien soldiers, tall and silver-skinned, moved through the city, searching for any human survivors. Aaron hid behind the broken walls of a collapsed tower, holding his damaged rifle and listening to their voices. Their language was strange, sharp, like metal grinding against metal. He did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. They were hunting. He looked at the picture inside his wrist screen. A woman and a little girl smiling. His wife and daughter. They were on Earth, far away, maybe still safe. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling a mix of fear and anger. He whispered to himself, "I won't die here. Not today." Aaron moved carefully through the ruins, using the smoke and fire as cover. Every few steps, he stopped to listen. The aliens had drones scanning the area. One passed close to him, its red light sweeping over the rubble. He held his breath and stayed still. The light moved away. He exhaled slowly. He reached an old communications outpost, half destroyed by plasma fire. The equipment was burnt, but one terminal was still working. He tried to send a distress signal to any human ship still orbiting above, but there was only static. Then a voice came through, broken, weak, but human. "If anyone is alive, regroup at Zone 9. We can still fight." The signal gave him hope. There were others still alive. He grabbed his rifle and started moving toward Zone 9. The path was dangerous. It's filled with fallen buildings and alien patrols. He avoided them as best as he could, but the sound of heavy steps made him stop. A group of aliens appeared at the corner. They saw him. Their eyes glowed blue, and they raised their plasma weapons. Aaron dove behind a burned vehicle and fired back. The shots echoed through the street. His bullets were weak against their armor, but one hit a soft spot near the neck. The alien fell with a strange scream. The others fired again, destroying the wall beside him. He rolled, grabbed a grenade from his belt, and threw it. The explosion shook the ground, and 2 aliens went down. When the smoke cleared, Aaron was bleeding from his arm, but still breathing. He ran before more of them arrived. His heart pounded hard, not from fear, but from something stronger. Rage. He reached a dark tunnel leading to the underground shelters. Inside, he found more signs of battle blood, broken helmets, human flags burned. He followed the path deeper until he heard voices. He raised his weapon, but then he saw them. 4 human soldiers, alive but tired, standing around a small power lamp. When they saw him, one shouted, "Captain Hale, you're alive." They told him what had happened. The aliens had destroyed every defense line. The human fleet had been forced to retreat. Earth's command had ordered surrender, but the message never reached this colony. The soldiers looked at Aaron, waiting for his order. One of them asked, "Sir, what do we do now?" "There's no way out." Aaron looked at them, then at the cracked walls, shaking with distant explosions. His face was covered in dust and blood, but his eyes were clear. "We don't surrender," he said quietly. "Not while we can still fight. Not while we're still human." The others stared at him. In that moment, something changed. The fear in their eyes turned into fire. Aaron checked his rifle, then pointed toward the surface. "We'll hit their main command post at dawn. If we're going down, we'll take them with us." The soldiers nodded. Outside, alien ships moved across the dark sky, searching for the last humans left alive. But deep underground, 5 humans were preparing to fight back, and for the first time in days, Aaron Hale felt alive again. He knew the odds were impossible, but surrender was not an option. He whispered into the silence. "As if the universe itself was listening, you can burn our cities. You can kill our people, but you will never make us kneel." The tunnels shook again as explosions rumbled above. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the dim power lamp flickered. The soldiers around Aaron looked nervous, but his face stayed calm. He had been through worse. War had taught him one thing: panic kills faster than bullets. He spread a small map on the ground, drawn by hand because their digital systems were destroyed. "This is the alien command post," Aaron said, pointing to a red mark near the city's center. "If we take that out, their network will go down for a few minutes. Enough time to send a signal to orbit." One of the soldiers, a young man named Clark, frowned. "But sir, there are too many of them. We can't even reach the surface without being spotted." Aaron looked at him and smiled faintly. "Then we stop thinking about what we can't do. We think about what we must do." He stood up and walked toward a broken crate. Inside were a few plasma grenades, a damaged rocket launcher, and some ammo packs. Not enough for a war, but enough for one last fight. He handed each soldier a weapon. "You fight for every step. You fight for every breath. You fight because that's what humans do." The soldiers nodded. They were scared. But their fear was now mixed with something stronger, pride, as they moved through the tunnels. They passed old posters on the walls, faded and torn. "For Earth and Freedom," one read. Aaron touched it lightly as he walked by. It felt like a promise. They reached an exit hatch that opened into the ruins of the old city. The air outside was heavy with smoke and ash. The alien patrols were everywhere, their blue searchlights cutting through the darkness. The group waited in silence as one patrol passed close. The alien's armor glowed faintly under the light of the burning sky. When the way was clear, Aaron gave a quick signal. They moved, staying low and silent, hopping from one destroyed wall to another. Each sound could mean death. Suddenly a noise came from behind, the sound of metal shifting. Everyone froze. From the shadows, a small drone emerged, its red scanner sweeping the area. Aaron reacted fast. He aimed his pistol and fired once. The drone fell, sparking and smoking, but it was too late. The sound of alien engines filled the air. "They found us," Clark shouted. The soldiers ran through the ruins as plasma shots hit the ground around them. One soldier, Mason, was hit in the leg and fell. Aaron turned back, grabbed him by the arm, and dragged him behind cover. "You're not dying here," he yelled. Mason gritted his teeth and nodded, clutching his wound. The rest of the team returned fire, their bullets lighting up the dark streets. One alien went down, then another. But for every one they killed, 2 more appeared. It felt endless. Aaron spotted an old factory nearby and motioned for them to enter. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Machines lay broken, covered in rust. They hid behind a fallen beam as the aliens searched outside. Clark whispered, "They'll surround us." Aaron checked his watch. "Then we hit them first." He pulled out a plasma grenade and set the timer. "When this goes off, run to the west exit. Don't stop for anything." He threw the grenade through a crack in the wall. The explosion tore through the street, blinding the aliens for a moment. The soldiers ran through the smoke, carrying Mason between them. They didn't look back. When they finally stopped, they were deep inside the industrial zone. Aaron breathed hard, trying to control his shaking hands. He looked at his team. They were alive, barely. Mason's wound was bad, but he smiled weakly. "Guess we're still human, sir," Aaron nodded. "As long as we're breathing, we fight." They found shelter in an old subway tunnel. Aaron pulled out a small transmitter from his bag, a homemade device built from scavenged parts. He began to repair it, his hands moving fast. "If I can boost the signal, maybe the fleet can hear us," he said. Clark watched him work. "And if they don't," Aaron looked up, eyes burning with determination, "then we make them hear us." Outside, the alien ships gathered above the city, ready to finish what they started. Inside that dark tunnel, 5 humans prepared to strike back, even knowing it might be their last stand. Aaron looked at the small picture on his wrist screen again, his family, still smiling. He whispered softly, "For you." Then he stood, loaded his weapon, and said to his team, "Tomorrow, we make them remember who we are." Night fell over the ruins of Epsilon 3. The alien ships hovered high above, their blue lights scanning the dead city like cold stars. The air was quiet, but the silence felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Deep inside an abandoned subway tunnel, Aaron and his small team sat in the dark. Listening to the distant sounds of war, Aaron worked on the broken transmitter with a steady hand. Sparks flashed as he twisted two wires together. "Almost done," he murmured. The others watched him in silence. Hope was a fragile thing, but right now, it was all they had. Clark broke the silence. "Sir, what if no one's left to hear us?" Aaron didn't look up. "Someone will hear." "They have to." He turned a dial, and the device crackled with weak energy. A small red light blinked. Static filled the air, then a faint sound, a human voice. It was broken and distant, but it was there. "This is Fleet Command. If anyone can hear." Resistance regrouping at the signal cut out. Aaron froze. The voice had come from orbit. That meant humans were still fighting. His heart started to race. "They're still there," he said quietly. "We're not alone." He looked at his team. "We move at dawn. We hit the alien command post and send the full signal. If we succeed, they'll know we're still alive down here." The soldiers nodded, but the exhaustion in their eyes was clear. They had been fighting for days without rest, food, or hope. Aaron knew it. He saw it in the way their shoulders slumped, and in the way they looked at the floor instead of the sky. Later, when everyone was asleep, Aaron walked to the edge of the tunnel and looked out through a crack in the wall. The city glowed with blue fire. He thought about his family again, his daughter's small hands, his wife's laugh, the smell of home. He whispered to the stars, "Hold on. I'm still fighting." Just before dawn, the team prepared for the assault. Mason's leg was wrapped tightly, but he refused to stay behind. "If I'm going to die," he said with a grin, "I'd rather do it standing." Aaron smiled faintly. "Then let's make it count." They moved through the early light, their shadows stretching long across the ruined streets. The alien command post stood in the distance, a tall black structure glowing with blue energy. It pulsed like a living heart. Around it were hundreds of alien soldiers and drones. Aaron raised his scope and studied the defenses. "Their energy core is in the center," he said. "If we hit it, the whole post goes down." Clark frowned. "Sir, that's suicide." Aaron looked at him. "No, it's humanity, split into two groups." Aaron and Mason went toward the front, drawing attention, while Clark and the others moved around the side with the transmitter. Every step closer felt like walking into fire. When they reached the outer wall, Aaron set a charge and motioned for Mason to take cover. The explosion tore open a section of the structure, and alien alarms screamed through the air. Plasma fire rained down from the towers. Aaron fired back, hitting targets with precise shots. He moved like a machine, focused and fearless. "Go," he shouted. "Get that signal out." Clark and the others ran through the smoke, carrying the transmitter toward the main console inside. Mason tried to follow, but his leg gave out. Aaron pulled him up, dragging him behind cover. "Not yet, soldier," he said. The aliens were closing in. Dozens of them. Aaron grabbed his last grenade and threw it toward the advancing line. The explosion sent several flying, but more came. Inside the building, Clark reached the console and connected the transmitter. "It's working," he shouted. The device hummed, and a beam of red light shot into the sky. Above the city, far beyond the clouds, a human fleet picked up the signal. "This is Epsilon 3, the message said. "We're still fighting." But back on the ground, the battle was turning. An alien commander appeared, larger and more armored than the rest. Its voice echoed in a deep, metallic tone. "Surrender, human. Your struggle is meaningless." Aaron stood up slowly, blood on his face, rifle in hand. He looked at the creature with calm, steady eyes. "Meaningless?" he said softly. "You have no idea what it means to be human." He fired his last round straight at the alien commander. The shots hit, sparks flying. The alien staggered but didn't fall. It raised its weapon, aiming right at Aaron. Before it could shoot, a massive explosion rocked the building. Clark had overloaded the console. The energy core was about to blow. Aaron turned and shouted, everyone out. Now, the humans ran through the collapsing walls as blue flames rose behind them. The alien post erupted in a blast of light that shook the city. When the smoke cleared, Aaron was lying on the ground, barely conscious. The alien command post was gone. He smiled weakly. Told you, we don't surrender. The blast from the alien command post had shaken the entire city. The sky burned with blue and orange fire. Smoke rose high, and pieces of metal rained down like dark snow. For a long time, there was only silence. Then, under the rubble, a hand moved. It was Aaron Hale. He pushed himself up, coughing hard. His face was covered with dust and blood, and his left arm was burned, but he was alive. Around him, the ruins glowed with heat. The command post was gone, only a crater remained. He looked around for his team. Clark, Mason. Anyone? A voice answered weakly from behind a broken wall. Sir, here? Aaron rushed toward the sound and found Clark pinned under debris. He used all his strength to pull the metal off. Clark groaned in pain, but managed to smile. We did it, sir. They're gone, Aaron nodded. Yeah, for now. Mason and the other 2 soldiers were nearby, injured but alive. They gathered together, helping each other stand. The air was filled with the smell of smoke and burnt metal. For the first time in days, the alien patrols were gone. The city was quiet, but the quiet didn't last long. A deep hum echoed from the sky. Aaron looked up and saw new ships entering the atmosphere. Bigger, heavier, reinforcements. The aliens were not retreating. They were coming in full force. Clark clenched his fists. They just keep coming. Aaron looked at the sky, his face calm, but his eyes full of fire. Then we keep fighting. He knew they couldn't win by staying here. The explosion had revealed their position. They had to move before the next wave arrived. He helped Mason walk, supporting him on his shoulder, and led the team toward the mountains outside the city as they moved through the ruins. Aaron saw what was left of human life on Epsilon 3 burned homes. Silent streets, the shadows of families who once lived here. Every destroyed building felt like a memory. He stopped for a moment and looked at the human flag half buried under the rubble. He picked it up, wiped the dust away, and carried it with him. By sunset, they reached the edge of the mountains. From there, they could see the city glowing under alien lights. Hundreds of ships moved across the sky like a storm. The humans were just 5 small figures standing against a giant army. They set up a small camp inside a cave. Aaron worked on fixing the transmitter again. The last signal had reached the fleet, but he didn't know if anyone had responded. The device was damaged, the screen cracked, but he refused to give up. Clark watched him. Sir, you should rest. You've been up for hours. Aaron didn't look up. Rest later. First, we make sure someone knows we're still fighting. Mason laughed softly. You really don't know how to stop, do you? Aaron smiled faintly. Stopping is surrender, and we don't do that. The night was cold. The stars above were distant and quiet. The men sat around a small fire, their faces lit by orange light. None of them spoke for a while. Then one of the younger soldiers, Davis, broke the silence. Do you think Earth still stands? Aaron looked at the sky, thinking about his family again. It has to, he said quietly. Because if it doesn't, then what are we fighting for? Suddenly the transmitter blinked. A signal came through, weak but clear. Aaron leaned closer. A woman's voice spoke through static. This is the human fleet. We received your signal. Hold your position. Reinforcements are on the way. Soldiers froze. For a moment, they couldn't believe it. Then Clark shouted, They heard us! Aaron felt his heart lift for the first time in days. The message was short, but it was hope. Real hope. But before he could say anything, the ground trembled. The sound of engines filled the air again. Alien dropships were landing nearby. They had tracked the signal. Aaron stood, grabbing his rifle. They're coming, Clark checked his weapon. Sir, what do we do? Aaron looked at his men, the cave, the flickering fire. He knew there was no running this time. We hold them off until the fleet gets here, he said. Every minute we survive gives them a chance to land. The soldiers took positions at the mouth of the cave. Outside, the alien lights glowed brighter, closing in like predators in the dark. The sound of their weapons powered up. Aaron took a deep breath, raised his rifle, and whispered, "Let's remind them who owns this planet." Then the night exploded in blue fire as the last stand of Epsilon 3 began. The first plasma blast hit the cave wall like thunder. Rocks exploded, dust filled the air, and the ground shook under their feet. The humans inside took cover, their weapons ready. Blue lights flashed outside as the alien troops closed in. Aaron shouted, "Hold your fire until they're close." The soldiers nodded, hearts pounding. The sound of alien footsteps echoed through the night, heavy, steady, inhuman. Their glowing armor lit up the darkness like ghosts made of metal. Clark looked at Aaron. "Sir, there's too many." Aaron's eyes were sharp. "Then we make every shot count." The first alien entered the cave, tall and armored, carrying a plasma rifle that hummed with deadly power. Aaron fired first. The bullet hit its chest, knocking it down. The others opened fire, filling the entrance with smoke and noise. Aliens fell one after another, but more kept coming. The battle turned into chaos. Plasma blasts ripped through the cave, burning holes in the stone. One soldier screamed as his arm was hit. Mason dragged him behind cover, yelling, "Stay down." Aaron moved like a man possessed. He ducked, fired, reloaded, and kept shouting orders. Left flank. Watch the tunnels. The smell of burned air filled his lungs, but he didn't stop. Every breath was pain, but every second they held the line was another second closer to rescue. Outside, alien commanders watched the fight from a ridge. One of them spoke in its harsh metallic language. The translation came through their comes, "They resist beyond reason. Terminate all." A group of drones flew toward the cave, dropping small bombs. The explosions made the ground collapse near the entrance. Rocks fell, trapping one of the soldiers. Aaron ran through the smoke, ignoring the heat and fire. He pulled the man free just before another blast hit. The soldier coughed. "Sir, why do you keep saving us?" Aaron looked at him, his face dark with dust and blood. "Because that's what humans do. We save each other." He turned back toward the mouth of the cave. The aliens were regrouping for a final push. The humans were running low on ammo. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Clark crawled over to Aaron. "Sir, the transmitter's still working. Maybe we can boost the signal again, guide the fleet to our exact position." Aaron nodded quickly. "Do it." Clark connected wires to a power cell and turned a small dial. Sparks flew, but the signal light turned green. Signal boosted. Above the planet, the human fleet received the exact coordinates. A massive ship turned toward Epsilon 3. Reinforcements were coming. But they were still minutes away. Aaron looked at his men. "We just have to survive until they get here." The aliens attacked again, hundreds of them, rushing the cave with energy weapons glowing bright blue. The humans fought with everything they had. Every bullet, every grenade, every drop of strength. Mason, wounded and bleeding, laughed between shots. "This is insane, sir." Aaron grinned back. "That's humanity for you." But one by one, his men began to fall. Davis was hit in the chest. Another soldier went down trying to throw a grenade. Clark was firing with one arm bleeding badly. Aaron felt the end coming. He looked outside the alien army surrounding them like a storm. Still, he refused to stop. He picked up a fallen rifle and stood in the open, firing again and again, shouting, "Come on! You want us? Then fight for it." The aliens fired back. One shot hit Aaron in the shoulder, spinning him to the ground. His vision blurred, but he could still see the flag he had carried, the human flag, lying beside him in the dust. He crawled to it, grabbed it, and pushed himself up again. He raised the flag high, even as plasma blasts tore the ground around him. "You can burn our cities," he shouted. "You can kill our people, but you'll never take our spirit." The aliens hesitated for a moment. Even they seemed confused by his defiance. Then, through the smoke and fire, the sky above the mountain changed. A deep rumble shook the air. Bright lights appeared high above, not alien blue, but human white. Clark saw it first. "Sir, look." The human fleet had arrived. Dozens of ships breaking through the clouds, firing beams of red energy down at the alien army. Explosions filled the valley. The aliens broke formation, scattering under the massive bombardment. Aaron fell to his knees, smiling through the pain. "Told you," he whispered. "We don't surrender." The last thing he saw before blacking out was the human ships descending through the burning sky, their engines lighting up the darkness like a second sunrise. When Captain Aaron Hale opened his eyes, everything was quiet. The sound of plasma fire was gone, replaced by the low hum of engines. The cave ceiling above him had collapsed halfway, sunlight breaking through cracks. For a moment, he didn't know if he was alive or dead. Then he heard voices, human voices. He turned his head slowly. Soldiers in clean armor were moving through the rubble, carrying stretchers and scanning for survivors. The human fleet had landed. A medic knelt beside him. "You're going to be all right, sir. Just hold on," Aaron tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He managed to whisper, "My team." The medic looked around and nodded. "We found them. Some are injured, but they're alive. You saved them." Aaron closed his eyes for a second. Relief washed over him like warm light. He could finally breathe. Outside, the sky was filled with human ships, hundreds of them. They had broken through the alien blockade. Columns of smoke rose from the enemy lines. The ground was littered with wrecked alien machines and broken armor. The invaders were retreating. Clark limped toward Aaron's stretcher, one arm in a sling, his face bruised but smiling. "Guess we made it, sir." Aaron smiled weakly. "You doubted me?" Clark laughed. "Never again." As they were airlifted to the command ship, Aaron looked down at the city, or what was left of it. Epsilon 3 was destroyed, but something greater had survived. Humanity's will. On board the flagship Valiant Dawn, Admiral Reyes stood waiting. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a tired expression. When Aaron was brought to her, she saluted him first. "Captain Hale," she said, "you did the impossible. You kept hope alive." Aaron tried to sit up but couldn't. "I just refused to surrender, ma'am." Reyes smiled. "That's exactly what makes us human." Later, as medics treated his wounds, Aaron looked through the large window at space. The alien fleet was pulling back, disappearing into the darkness. For now, the battle was over. But he knew this was not the end of the war. He thought of his family back on Earth, his wife, his little girl, and wondered if they would ever know what happened here. Maybe they would hear his name one day. Maybe they wouldn't, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that humanity had survived another day. Clark came and sat beside him, looking out at the stars. "So what happens now, sir?" Aaron's eyes stayed on the black horizon. "Now we rebuild. And when they come again, we'll be ready." The ship's speakers crackled with a broadcast from the fleet commander. "To all human forces, the colony of Epsilon 3 has not fallen. Humanity stands united. We fight for every world, for every soul. We never surrender." The words echoed through the ship, and everyone stopped to listen. Soldiers cheered, medics smiled, and even the wounded lifted their fists. Aaron felt tears in his eyes. Not of sadness, of pride. Humanity had been broken, beaten, burned, but never defeated. Later that night, while resting in the med bay, he woke to find Mason sitting nearby, leg wrapped in bandages. "Couldn't sleep either?" Aaron asked. Mason grinned. "Not after all that." "You think the aliens will come back?" Aaron nodded. "They will. But next time, they'll remember this place. They'll remember Epsilon 3, and they'll remember the humans who refused to surrender." Mason smiled softly. "You really think that matters to them?" Aaron looked up at the stars through the window. "It doesn't have to matter to them. It matters to us." A gentle silence filled the room. The war was far from over, but for this moment, they had won. Somewhere out in the void, the alien ships drifted away into darkness. And somewhere back on Earth, a little girl looked up at the night sky, was wondering if her father was among the stars. He was, and though his body was broken, his spirit burned brighter than ever. Because that was the truth of humanity, fragile in flesh, infinite in heart. Aaron Hale closed his eyes, whispering to himself one last time, "You can take our worlds, but you'll never take our will." Outside the window, the valiant dawn turned toward the stars, leading a fleet that refused to die. The banner of humanity waved once more, torn, scorched, but still flying. And so ended the Battle of Epsilon 3, the story of one man who refused to surrender, and through his defiance reminded the galaxy what it truly meant to be human.